This session is on control statements in Java. With the help of control statements, we do two types of programming. One, where we require some statements to be executed under certain condition. Those control statements are called conditional statements. And the second type of control statements are used in situations where we want certain statements to be repeated several times. Those are called the loop statements or the iterative statements. So control statements can be divided into two categories. In the first category, the control statements are the conditional statements, where a certain set of statements are executed in a condition. There are two types of conditional statements in Java, that is if statement and switch statement. The other type of control statement is called the iterative statements. Iterative statements are those statements where we use repetition to get our problem solved. Uh, we like statements where we want to print something 10 times or we want to repeat several times. Those statements are called the iterative statements. These control statements, either the conditional statement or the iterative statements, are common in C programming language, in C++ programming language, as well as in Java programming language. The syntax is exactly same, except that in C, the conditions are considered to be integer type, 0 for condition false and 1 for condition true. But as we discussed in the previous session, that in Java, there is a Boolean value with true and false value. Boolean is a data type with values true and false, and all the conditions are of Boolean type. So let us see one example at least for each of these types. So let's begin with the if statement. I've already typed in the, this is called the structure of a Java program, also called the boilerplate, where we require uh, a Java package, java.util, whenever we want to make some input for this scanner class. Now, this is the first example. So I'll write a program where we'll check whether the number is odd or even. A very simple program. We have done it several times in other languages. We'll do it here as well. Program to check whether a number is an odd or an even number. Very simple. Just we want to see the logic and the syntax. So I'll be using num variable for the number, and I'll be using a rem variable to keep the remainder of the language of the number. Now we'll give the user a message system.out.print. Enter a number. This is the message that will be given, and whatever number the user will enter will be accepted. In the num variable, we already have SC object of the scanner class, and we have discussed that to input an integer, we need next in function. So we have taken the user input and stored in the variable num. Now we'll divide the number by 2, and we'll check whether the number is odd or even by checking its remainder. So if the remainder is, we have a symbol, percent symbol. This is called modulo division. And this modulo division gives the remainder after division. That means if I divide a number 5 by 2, I'll get the remainder 1. If I divide the number 6 by 2, I'll get the remainder 0. So if the remainder is 0, then it is an even number. Otherwise, it is an odd number. So I'll use else here in this way, and I'll use this statement here to print that the number is even number. I'll write number is even, and here I'll print in the else part that the number is odd. So this is a program where the user will enter a number. That number will be stored in the variable num. Then we will divide the number by 2 and store the remainder in the rem variable. And then we'll check whether the remainder is 0 or the remainder is 1. If the remainder is 0, it is considered to be an even number. If the remainder is not 0, it is considered to be an odd number. Now I'll run this program. After compilation, you can see at the bottom, it is asking for a number. I enter 6 and it tells that the number is even. I'll run the same program once again. I enter 7 and it says that the number is odd. So this is how we write a Java program and check the condition. So this is called the conditional statement. This is the conditional statement. If what we are doing, we are entering a number and then we are dividing the number by 2 and checking whether the remainder is an odd number or an even number. And on the basis of the remainder, we can decide whether the number is an odd number or an even number. So I'll move on to next example, example 2.java. And here we'll see the switch statement. I'll use the same program and I'll try to explain the switch statement, switch case statement. So we'll have the same variables. The only change I'll make it here. We'll enter a number and check whether the number is odd and even number. And this is with the help of switch statement. Switch case statement, we say, because there are two cases for this. Now, how will we execute? We'll write switch and remainder. Now, this switch have two cases, 0 case and then we'll have case 1. Now, in 0, what we have to print? We have to print that system.out.println number is even. And in the switch statement, we use a break statement. This is the syntax. After executing, when the remainder will be 0, it will go to the case 0. You have to note down that between case and 0, there has to be a space. If we write it this way, this will not work properly. There has to be a space. And if the case is 0, the case decides whatever is there in the switch statement, the value of rem variable. So it will say that the number is even, and then I'll use the same function to tell that the number is odd. So this is also another way. This is also a conditional statement because there are the two conditions under which we are executing our program. So this is another example of a conditional statement. I'll run. The output will be more or less same as we have done in the previous example. We'll enter 5 and it will tell that the number is odd. I'll run this program once again and I'll enter 8 and it says that the number is even. So this is one example of conditional statement. All these type of programs you might have already done in C and C++. We are just revising it to understand how the same program can be written in the Java syntax, in the Java programming environment. Now I'll write another example 3.java that will be similar program to program number 2. Let us copy this and paste it here, everything. Okay, let me copy it once again. I'll copy and I'll paste it here. It's done. And here you can see that it is giving error. So we can resolve it. What we have to do, we have to add the package that is not yet added. So I'll import what Java dot utility package. So that will resolve the error. Now in this program, we'll enter two numbers and we'll ask the user what type of operation the user wants to perform. If the user wants addition, then they can say add option, then subtract option like this. We'll have a menu-based program where we'll be using the switch statement. So there's the program. Enter two numbers and perform different operations, different arithmetical operations based on user choice. So we'll give choice to the user, and based on the user choice, we'll see what to do. So here I'll change the variables. We'll have number 1, we'll have number 2, we'll have result, and we'll have an option that the user will enter. So these are the 4 variables we require. We'll enter 2 numbers. First number will be stored in number 1. And here we can say that the first number will be stored in number 1, the second number will be stored in number 2. And now we'll ask the user his choice. So we can write it this way. We'll give 4 choices, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we'll have the subtract an option to multiply. We'll have an option to divide. And then we'll give the user choice to enter his option. Enter your choice. One. And whatever option the user will enter will be accepted in the option variable sc dot next enter. So we'll accept the user's choice in the option. And now here we'll have 4 cases for the option. Case number 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So we'll have, in the case number 1, will be what is there? It is add. So we'll add the two numbers. Number 1 will add and print result is equals to plus what is the result. This is the for case 1, we have these things to be performed. Then for case 2, let us see what are the things that we have to do in this case. It is subtraction. So we'll subtract and I'll copy this. This 3 is multiplication. So we will multiply. And then we have case 4. Case 4 is what division. So you can see that in this program, we are accepting two numbers from the user. Then we will show user 4 options: add, subtract, multiply, divide. We'll get the user's choice in the option variable. So we'll have 4 choices, 4 cases: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And it may happen that by mistake or by intention, the user enters a value that is not 1 to 4, then we'll say that the choice is not correct. So in that case, it will go to the default and we will mention here that it is invalid. The choice is invalid. So this is how we write the program. I'll save this program and compile this again. Now you can see it is asking for 2 numbers. Let us give 6 and 9. And it is asking, you can see at the bottom, 1 for add, 2 for subtract, 3 for multiply, 4 for divide. Enter your choice. So if our choice is 1, then the result is addition is 15 and it is showing it this way. And if we want that all these choices come in different line, then what we can do, we can use print ln here. Print ln will change the line after printing. So it will come in different line. So print and print ln has 2 effects. If you use print, it will print and continue in the same line. If you use print ln, it will go to the next line. So I've used print ln. Now let us see how things behave. I enter 20 and 10. Then you can see arithmetical operations 1, 2, 3, 4 coming in different lines. And it is asking for your choice. I give 2 and it subtract and give the result. I can run again. And here, suppose I enter 20 and 6 and I give the choice 8. So 8 is not a valid choice because we have only 4 cases, so it will come out. So this is how we can run the program and see the result. So in this program, what we are doing, we are using the conditional statement switch case, and there are 4 choices. These 4 values are coming from the option variable, and if the option variable has something other than 1, 2, 3, 4, it will go to default and it will print invalid choice. So this is how we can write the conditional statements. I'll come back to the theory again. We are discussing control statements in Java. And in the control statements, we have conditional statements and iterative statement. In the conditional statement, we have if statement and switch statement. We have seen one example of this if statement, and We have seen two switch statements example. There can be a lot of examples. I'll give you a lot of questions to solve once we will complete this. Now I'll come to the loop. Now, why do we use a loop? One condition you can see here that every time I enter to the sorry, every time I enter values, 4 2 number is even. Let me run this program once again. 4 and 2. Okay. Okay, it is running the first example. We have to run this program. I enter 4 and 2. It is showing this choices. I enter 2, it gives the result and it comes out. It does not remain for us to see some more results. Like when we go to an ATM and we get different options. Suppose I want to check my balance in the first time, and then after checking my balance, I see that it is 10,000 available. So I want to take out 5,000. So I need to twice I need to access the ATM. I don't want to like come out after knowing my balance. So what I will do, I'll use a loop for this program. So let us see how it works for loop. I'll copy everything and I'll put it in a loop. So let us start another program example folder Java. I'll copy the previous program only. Sorry. The same program that we have discussed. This is example 4. And I want this whole part to be repeated. And if the user enters other than 1 to 4, it will come out. It will say thank you and it will come out. So the default will be thank you. And here I'll say the last option is 5. So we have 1 to 5 in choice. And 1 is add, 2 is subtract this way. So I'll start my loop from here. Do statements. I'll open the bracket and I'll close it where? Before the main. This is the main statement. So I'll close it somewhere here. And I'll write while option is not equals to 5. Okay, when the option is 5, it will come out here. I'll say invalid choice. Invalid choice. And when the option is 5, I'll say thank you. Now see what I've done. In the previous program itself, I have started a loop. I've written do and I've opened the bracket. This is the opening bracket for do statement. Let me indent it properly so that it becomes more beautiful. And this is for the loop. So I start do loop here, I start do loop here, and this whole statement that is under the do opening and closing bracket will keep on repeating until the user enters the value 5, that is for exit. Now let me run and show you how it works. It is asking for 2 numbers. I'll enter 4 and 2. It is asking for my choice. I enter 1. And it says result equals to 6, and then it again go back to enter two numbers. Now, next time I want to enter 8 and 4, and it will ask for an option. I'll go for 5. So it is, the result is 2. Then it is asking for two numbers, suppose 90 and 60. And now I decide that I don't want to continue with it. So I'll enter 5. So 5 is shown as invalid choice because it is going into the 5 as well, and then it's coming out. So in case of uh, 5, I should mention case 5 here as well, and then we can use the default. Because for case 5, it is not invalid choice, it is a valid choice, it will just come out. So what should we write for case number 5? In case number 5, we just have to break the switch statement. Bracket will come here. The option will be not 5. So we'll thank you, and it will come out. So now if I run this program, it is asking for two numbers. You can see at the bottom. It is asking for two numbers. I enter the two numbers, suppose 50 and 10, and is asking for the choice. Suppose I don't want to continue. I enter 5 directly, then what happens? It says thank you, and then it comes out of the loop. So this is how we can add a loop to our existing program. You can see this way. I'll quickly clear the terminal. We can use clear statement to clear the terminal because we have been running this program several times. I'll run this program again. Okay. It is asking for the two numbers. I enter 80 and 40. I give multiplication, and after multiplication, it asks for another numbers. I don't want to, so I'll give 0 and 0, and I'll give 5, and I'll come out. So this is how we can keep on continuing with an option, and we can run the program. So this is another example wherein we have used the do while loop. So do while loop is a post-tested loop. Why we call this post-tested? Because the condition is mentioned at the end. You can see we are starting, but we are ending it here at the end. So this is an example of do while loop. So now we'll see one example of for loop as well, or while loop as well. Example 5 also. I'll copy this. I'll paste it here. This is example 5. And this is a program to print 1, 2, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1 to n, where n is the user input. So for this program, what we require a variable n, enter number n, and then we want to print from 1 to n. So we'll start with an integer variable I. The value should be 1, and we'll move on till the value reaches n, and each time we will increment the value by 1. So I plus plus is equals to I plus 1. Now I'll simply print I. So this is a program for loop. In for loop, this system.out.println will be executed how many times? From 1 to n. If the n is value of n is 5, it will start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will keep on repeating this statement, keep on printing this statement 5 times or whatever is the value of n. We can quickly check out how it runs. It is asking for a number, the value of n. Suppose I enter 3, so it prints 1 to 3. I'll run the same program again. I enter 7, so it will run 7 times. So what is happening here is this statement is getting repeated n number of times where n is the user input. So how it works, it starts with the value of 1, it goes to n and then it increments it. I'll copy this program. I'll make one more example, that will be example 6.java. Program to print 1 to n, but I want to print it with a while loop. So instead of for, I'll use a while loop here. And then in while loop, this statement that the start value is written before the while. So I'll write it here. And this statement, the increment statement, is written inside it. So I'll write I plus plus here. So this will have the same effect. It will start from 1. It will keep on repeating while the value of I is less than equals to n. This statement will be printing the value. So first time value of I is 1. Suppose n is 5. So 1 is less than 5. It will print 1. I plus plus means I is equals to I plus 1 in next value of I. So it becomes 2. Next time it will print 2. Next time it will print 3, then 4, then 5. And when I values becomes 6, it will come out. Let us quickly check it out here. It is asking for a number. I enter 4 and it is printing 1 to 4. So this is how we can use a while loop as well. Now suppose we want to print it in reverse order. We want to print from 5 to 1. Then what will happen? Let me add one more program. Example 7.java. I'll copy everything from example 6 because we want to use the same concept with little bit of difference. I'll write it here. I want to print n to 1. So this is programmed to print n to 1. So how we will do it? This is example number 7. So the starting value will be n. So I starts with n and it will repeat till the value of I is greater than equals to 1. It has to reach up to 1 and every time the value will decrease. So it will be minus 1. So for first time it will be 5. It will print 5, then it will become 4. 4 is greater than 1, so it will print 4. Then 3 is greater than 1, print 3. Then 2 is greater than 1, print 2. 1 is greater than 1, print 1. 0 is greater than 1, false, so it will come out. Let me run this program. It's asking for a number. I enter 5, and you can see it is printing in the reverse order 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is how we can run different programs. I have discussed if statement, I have discussed switch statement, I have discussed do while loop, for loop, and while loop. These are all very much similar to what we have already done in C and C++. Many of you might have already learned these things. So what we have learned today is the control statements Java. There are two types, conditional statement and iterative statement. Conditional statement is again of two types, where we check condition and then we repeat, we execute some statement, and iterative statement is where we repeat certain statements several number of times. These while loop and for loop are pre-tested. Why? Because we check the condition before we execute the statement. So these are the pre-tested. I hope this is clear to all of you. Thank you very much.